Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. We're back speaking about transfer news. I promised this yesterday because it's been a while since we spoke about transfer news. And the January transfer window is coming up and it will be running before we even see it. We've got 20 days until Christmas, which means that the January transfer window is literally on the verge of starting. Time goes quick. Time flies by when you have fun, they said, and it surely does because Roma's fourth, so let's celebrate that. But look, it's going to be a transfer market of opportunities. It's going to be a transfer market of complexities, and it's going to be yet another transfer market with a lot of limits. And as I've said many times, it needs to be an efficient one. It needs to be a non-time consuming one. It needs to be I know what I'm doing. I've studied what I'm gonna do, and that's the way to go in January windows. But today I'm here to speak about two moves which Roma are interested in. One is Serhou Guirassy, Stuttgart striker, and the second one is Arthur Theate, which you already spoke about. Rennes defender, used to play for Bologna. And apparently he could be the defensive replacement that Pinto could get us in January. But I do want to start with Serhou Guirassy. Now, look, this is Roma entering the race. This is not, Roma presenting offers. This is not anything. It's nothing concrete. Because as you will see and as we will discuss today, there is going to be one hell of a competition to sign this player. Serhou Guirassy is breaking all types of records in the Bundesliga with Stuttgart. In fact, Stuttgart itself are beating all the records that the club has ever seen. So basically, this guy has got 16 Bundesliga goals in 11 games, and Stuttgart are like third or fourth in the Bundesliga. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're in the top four, and Stuttgart are not a top four side in the Bundesliga. This is an interesting deal because it has a release clause. The release clause is around £17 million, which is, it's normally around 20 million euros. And it's tempting because for a striker who's scoring this many goals, 20 million euros is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And the market is going to be big. The competition is going to be high. So you're going to see a lot of teams queuing up to try and sign him. Yeah, that's the reason why we are interested in him. But it's also most probably the reason behind the fact that we're not going to get him, because I know that, as a matter of fact, I know that United and Newcastle in the Premier League are interested in him. Look, the release clause is a release clause. The release clause is the same for everyone. So it's not one of those deals that I would completely cut Roma off, because if it was a deal where the team who offered more money would get him, then obviously Roma would not be able to compete. But it's a release clause, and the price is the same for every club that wants to sign him. And the release clause is active in this January transfer window, and the release clause is around 20 million, as we said before. And it's tempting, it's not expensive. The market of strikers is a very complicated market because strikers which score goals and are proven strikers cost a ton of money, and therefore clubs like Roma can't afford them. And then you've got the strikers who are more of gambles, or you loan them out, and that's what Roma could do. I'm very interested in him. I've got mixed reactions on him, I ain't gonna lie, and we're gonna break this through. I think he's a very interesting striker, extremely interesting striker, because he's breaking all types of records, which is obviously, it means that he's good. And I also think that he could be an absolute beast in a league like this area. Let's not forget Osimhen. I link Guirassy to Osimhen in terms of Osimhen played for Lille, a team which, yes, before they won the league in 2020, which Osimhen wasn't a part of, Lille weren't a massive team. Lille weren't a big team. So a player like Osimhen, who nobody really knew about, moving to Napoli, they had mixed reactions. And then obviously Osimhen turned out to be a beast. I see links with this. A player who's scoring a lot of goals in the Bundesliga for a team which isn't a massive team. A move to Roma could mean that he could explode just like he did with Osimhen. But on the other hand, I also would argue that this striker to me smells and sounds a lot like a one season special. I ain't gonna lie, but it just like those players which smell like one season wonders. That's exactly him. He is the one season wonder that everybody's ever seen, and that's my fear, because yes, it doesn't involve a lot of money. 20 million is a lot for us, but it's not a lot because 20 million for the striker market isn't high at all. So 20 million, it might sound a lot because we're Roma, but it really isn't a lot. Especially if you look at how much money we spent to sign Shomurodov. You know, a release clause of 20 million for a guy who scored 16 Bundesliga goals in 11 games and is one of the top scorers of that league after Harry Kane. It's not expensive at all. It's very tempting to activate that release clause. But it just sounds to me like he's a one season wonder. And don't get me wrong, I'm worried about this because I've seen Roma sign so many one season wonders that I don't want us to risk yet another season wonder. You know, if you've been here for a long while, you will remember the amount of players that we bought because they had one good successful season and then they ended up being flops. I could stay here all night listing them to you. I can list them two already. Ibarbo. Does everybody remember Ibarbo? That guy scored 20 goals for Cagliari. We were like, oh yeah, that guy looks amazing. I'm gonna base my transfer on one entire season. We bought him, and Ibarbo was one of the biggest flops of the 21st century, I should say, for Roma. There are others. Shomurodov is another one of them. Scored goals for Genoa, interesting player, absolute flop. Doumbia. We've got Schick. Schick is the perfect example of this. Had an incredible season with Sampdoria. We bought him thinking that he was going to be an incredible striker, and then he came to us, and all he did was miss sitters. I see a lot of this in this deal. We can't base a transfer on one single season, but it is also tempting to think about activating the release clause because it's not high. Now, I can see a lot of comments in the chat going, well, we don't need a striker right now. And I fully agree, but this won't happen in January. You know, this will not happen in January for two reasons. First reason is we won't activate that release clause in January because in order for Roma to activate that release clause, we either get Champions League football or we sell someone big, which is not going to happen in January. And second reason why it's not going to happen in January, and in my opinion is the reason of why he won't leave Stuttgart in January, is because when you're having such a successful season with that team, and when you're having such a successful season yourself, why would you leave in January when you're performing so well for that club? So if he's smart, then he shouldn't leave Stuttgart in January and he should end the season because he could score more goals and he could grab even more attention and interest from all around Europe. And that's very important. So it's not going to happen in January for us. This can only happen in June. And obviously the situation in June is different because in June, we have a big question mark on Lukaku. We have a big question mark on Tammy Abraham. We have a big question mark on Azmoun because it's a loan. And we also have a big question mark on Belotti. Will he stay? Will he go? So without a doubt, in June, we will ask ourselves more questions about strikers. Do we need him? Will Lukaku stay? If I had to choose between Rom and Guirassy, I choose Lukaku blindfolded because he's proven in this league and he's scoring goals for fun. Guirassy I've never seen in a more competitive league like the Serie A. I don't know how he deals with pressure, and moving to a team like Roma. I've said this many times. Roma fans aren't patient, so the second you make a mistake, they're gonna already turn against you, and that's the reality of Roma. So if I need to choose between keeping Lukaku and triggering the release clause of Guirassy, I wouldn't even think about this. But what happens if Lukaku doesn't stay? Tammy leaves. If Tammy leaves and Lukaku stays, then maybe I will trigger that release clause if nobody else has triggered it yet, and you would reinforce your striker. For me, if we need to buy him, I'd rather have him as a second striker, definitely not as first. But that's it. And the other player which I wanted to talk about is Theate. Now this is more doable in January. In fact, I think it could happen in January. I was told that Thiago Pinto has a very important meeting with Theate's agents this week. So to kind of get an impression of will Rennes allow a loan or a permanent move in January? How much are Rennes asking if they want a permanent move? Are they opening up for a loan? Will he be open to leave in January? So Thiago Pinto's got a meeting this week apparently to discuss this with his agents. I don't mind him. I've said it a lot of times and I'm going to say it again. I think he's the defender we need. He's fast, he knows this league well, and he's also a defender who scores goals. And he's not old enough. He's not as old as other names that I've seen being linked with our club. So yeah, Theate is definitely a yes for me. Yeah, I think look, again, I want Thiago Pinto to know the defender that we are going to buy in January by the end of the year. Because by the 2nd of January, at its max, we need to sign that defender. Because already, today, the 5th of December, I know that Ndika will leave for AFCON and Smalling is dead. So I know 1 month before the January transfer window starts that I am going to miss 2 defenders starting from the 1st of January. So I will need a defender. And the sooner I get a defender, the quicker he can play. And look at that calendar by the time the 1st of January hits. We are playing Atalanta and Milan, and we've got our Coppa Italia game consecutively. Those are 3 games where if we buy a defender after those 3 games because we waste time, then we have to play those 3 games without Ndika in defence, and most probably, but hopefully, without Smalling in defence. So we need to buy a defender. We need to block a defender right now. We need to block him now. And this is why I'm liking the fact that Thiago Pinto is having early meetings. Because we need to block the name down. Obviously, we can't buy him now. I can't bring him in my team now. Otherwise, I would have done that. But we can block him now to avoid competition. And then when the January transfer hits in, boom, the minute it hits, I give you the money, you give me him. There is no time to waste in January. We cannot waste time. We've got such a fit calendar. Obviously, adding on to those 3 massive games, we also have the Europa League playoffs coming up after the new year comes in. Because we're not going to get second. Come on, we're not going to get first. Let's be honest. To get first, we need an absolute miracle. A miracle is called a miracle because it barely ever happens. We are going to get second in that Europa League group stage. We're playing 2 more games. Will Ndika be fit for those? Yes, those are in February, so technically Ndika's back. But what if he gets injured at AFCON? What if he loses form? What if Smalling is not back? There are so many question marks that we need to be quick. We need to be efficient. We need to avoid wasting time like we did this summer with Scamacca, or like we did this summer when it comes to signing a striker, or when it comes to signing a box-to-box midfielder. You know, in January we won't sell players, so we can't expect to buy players based on the money that we generate from us selling, because we won't sell many players in January. The only player which I can see us selling in January is Spinazzola. Other than that, I don't think we're gonna sell anyone. Quick, we need to be quick. In terms of priorities, I still think centre back is a priority, and then second priority is full back. Ideally, we need to get 2, so both of them in January. But I'm not betting any money on us signing 2 players in January. I am not whatsoever in a million years betting my money on us signing 2 players. One, I think, will happen. Knowing Roma and knowing how much time we waste, I just don't see it. I can't see it happen. I just cannot see how we get 2 players done. But we definitely need a few. And that is definitely it. Spina's been good this season. No, mate. I don't know if you're watching the same season as us, but Spinazzola is dead. I'm not even exaggerating when I say I could play better than Spinazzola. If we get him, he could start in Coppa Italia games in Europa League, and maybe he will not have to buy Lukaku at the end of the season, and he will be our striker. I honestly love this player, says Nitsan. What do we think about him? What do we think about him? Look, let me put a quick poll on before ending this stream. Keep Lukaku, sign Guirassy. I know it's a forced poll, but let me do it. It's a forced poll because I hope it's not gonna be like this. I hope that we don't come down to this decision. Would you rather keep Lukaku, sign Guirassy? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go keep Tammy or sign Guirassy. Because I think selling Lukaku to sign Guirassy would be a suicide. Guirassy is a second striker in my opinion. Yes, he can play as a first striker in Stuttgart. I am very not convinced that he can be a first striker in a team like Roma. Do you think we could loan out a war, says Giulio. I think with a war, I think nothing will happen, but I also think that he's not going to get many games. He's not going to get many games. Azmoun is 10 times better than a war in terms of impacts he gives. I think Aouar has fallen down a lot of hierarchies. I think at the start of the season, Jose saw Aouar as a potential threat. But yeah, I just think he's not having it. He's not playing well. He's not playing well, so he definitely doesn't deserve to start games. But maybe loaning him or selling him now would be a bit too early. He's so good, but he's a little old, and I fear his prima donna attitude to be bad for us. But I would probably keep him because he's a proper striker, and maybe buy Marcos Leonardo if we manage to. Says Viola. Tammy's so much better, says Robert. I wouldn't buy this guy, says Michael. I think we can make a swap deal with Chelsea, Abraham for Lukaku. Definitely, especially if we get Champions League football, we can. Right, I mean, that is it. It was good to speak about transfers today. Coppa Italia is on. What's Lazio doing? Because obviously that's interesting, because the winner of Lazio against Genoa faces us if we beat Cremonese in the quarterfinals. Lazio winning 1-0. Guendouzi scored. Oh my god, it's bleach. Guendouzi scored. How did they manage Guendouzi to score? How did they let that guy score? Guirassy is 28, 29 years old. Right, I'm going to catch you tomorrow. If you haven't already, do smash the like button, please. It supports this channel and single video a lot. So please, before leaving, do hit that like. subscribe, give it a little click down below. I will catch you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We're playing on Sunday, so maybe not match preview yet. But we've got more transfer news and news to talk about, without a doubt. And then on Thursday, we'll speak about the game. Enjoy your evening. Hopefully Lazio lose, but I highly doubt it. But you never know. Lazio's weird and is terrible. And yeah, talk to you soon. See you out.